I wanted to ask you a question about Kundalini awakening. I went through a different style. Nothing bad happened to me, only amplification of amazing stuff. What do you think about, oh, it's dangerous, it's terrible, it's gonna ruin your life? All kinds of nonsense on the internet that we hear about.
I had a Kundalini awakening and it was the most beautiful experience of my life. It was like, it was like a love affair with the divine was going on in my body.
I want to make something very clear here. The end goal of the practice that I teach that leads to exiting the reincarnation cycle is landing the soul in the true void over and over right now while we are still living. This helps the soul find the route and create the skill that it will utilize after it is released from the body at the moment of passing. This assures that the soul will not in any way be misled or confused. The one and only reason Kundalini awakening is on our radar in this process at all is because it is a side effect, not the end goal of the practice. And we utilize this side effect to facilitate the quantum jump for the soul out of the system of entrapment. The blast of Kundalini energy right now, right here as we train, is the fastest and the only sure way that I currently know of that can subdue the body and create the quantum jump for our non-physical self. Unfortunately, not everybody has the level of intelligence to get the main message here. Either that or the fear conditioning around Kundalini and Kundalini awakening is so thick that as soon as the word Kundalini comes out of my mouth, they become unable to hear anything else at all and thus miss the main message, the main goal of the practice, which is creating the skill for the soul in preparation for the moment of conscious departure at the end of this lifetime, and their inability to intellectually process, absorb, or receive the core message of my teaching is reflected loud and clear in the comments that they are currently writing and also saying all over the internet. And so the way out that I suggest is to awaken the Kundalini energy. And oh my God, Kundalini energy, oh my God, right? But if you use it correctly, it could be utilized as a rocket fuel that can propel your entire non-physical form, not just the astral body, your entire non-physical form out of all structures of the matrix, not through the matrix, not through the astral dimensions, but like a quantum leap, a quantum jump, straight into the fabric of divinity, which I call the true void. And you go past all form, past all expression, right back into the primordial state of the soul that your soul recognizes unmistakably as its one and only true home. And all of the indie experiences, all of the fake void experiences fade in comparison to what that is like. And I can pile a huge pile of words here, and it will not give this experience justice. It cannot be described in words. It can only be known through experience. And to know it through experience, I have pulled together the practice that can give people that experience. The purpose of the practice is to create the skill for the soul to do the quantum jump at the moment of passing. We practice now. We use Kundalini energy and the breath work to subdue the body's resistance, to let the body, to make the body let go of the soul, and then direct the soul where we want it to go. And we go there again and again. So at the moment of passing, at the end of the long, fulfilling life, when as the body lets go, you will not need breath work, you would not need meditation, you would not need any technique. You will just send yourself as a soul directly where you have learned to go, and you learn it while you're still alive. This is the method that I suggest will give us a choice. I believe that it will work. Do I know this 100%? I don't. But I know that I have experienced that enough times to know that it is a possibility, and it is also, it does not require any predisposition, no pre-existing condition, nothing. You do not need to be enlightened. By the way, you mentioned enlightenment is not required. Enlightenment kind of happens as a side effect of this practice. It's a different, if it's just the side effect, the samadhi states, the opening of the third eye, all of that happens as a side effect of the practice. We don't focus on enlightenment. That's a side effect in this particular case. So enlightenment is a part of the process, but it's a side effect that we don't stop at enlightenment. We don't stop at one experience of the void. We continue until we find ourselves in the true void. And same as building any skill, this takes time and patience and perseverance, and you give your soul a chance to get out of the lush farm that unfortunately our reality is. The only reason we need the practice and the Kundalini energy and the breath work and this meditation is because we are working against the body that is holding on, and against the system that even if you vibrate slowly out of your body, the way you astral project, you're within the matrix. We're not learning to astral project. We're learning to quantum leap out of the entire system. And for that, we need intense technique that takes time and perseverance to work. And once it worked, you can repeat it. And then when the body lets go of you, you will not need any of this. You will just repeat the route that you have already paved, and take that route again, and your soul is out of the trap. That's the main point of all my teachings.
Last thing, I have heard people say, and you even said, ooh, Kundalini energy, and I think you might have been alluding to this. Some people say, well, wait a minute, that's, I believe, like considered serpent energy, and they worry about that and as maybe having a negative connotation. What's your response to maybe some people having a fear of utilizing Kundalini energy because of its connection to serpent energy?
All of that is a part of the anti-awakening propaganda.
Okay.
And yes, they did in the old books and in the scriptures liken the serpent and the Kundalini energy to the snake. Snake coiled at the bottom of your body at the root center, and then it stands up like a cobra and opens its hood right here. It is very literal. This is exactly what happens with Kundalini energy.
was like I would lie there feeling these currents of energy going up and down my spine. It was just beautiful. I
Yes.
had blissful states. And then it completed its journey and went up into my brain. And then I missed it because it left, like it changed its form from a condensed energy into a kind of a field of energy. It's like, for me, it was like a tennis ball, right? Been pushed through a hose pipe going up my spine,
Right
right?
up the spine, yep.
Like a ball, an orgasmic ball of energy. And it was like going up my spine, my back was arching, and then eventually it got into my brain, and I felt like my brain was like ripped,
Yeah.
you know, into the universe. Like, and my head
Yeah.
opened up into the universe, and it was like
Exactly.
all my vision became silver and gold, and it was like, you know, flames.
For me, it was like a train, like a locomotive train, like of golden color up the spine. And then when it reached this level, it just exploded. I in my inner visual, it looked like my arms turned into this blossom golden light beams, and then up to here, and then, like you said, gone into the consciousness, the consciousness of divinity, just gone.
Yeah.
Because they worshipped the reptilians back in the day, and they worshipped the snakes back in the day, so they likened it to the serpent, to something they thought was magical and special. But the Kundalini energy is a part of your own body. It is something that, it's like, there are some people on the internet saying you need to remove your Kundalini energy. It's the same as like, okay, let's remove my leg. You know, it's that makes it that much sense as well. But yeah, this is not for those who are mentally unstable. No advanced spiritual practices or psychedelics or anything that gives you the experience of the invisible are fit for those who are mentally or emotionally unstable. So if you're mentally and emotionally stable, you're going to be fine, but it is good to familiarize yourself with the side effects of the practice, and for that I have classes on the Void Academy so that you know what to expect. None of this is in any way detrimental or life-threatening or any of that at all. But I mean, when you do anything, you do, I don't know, you run a marathon, you're out of breath, you have a heartbeat, you're burning all over the body. It's very similar to that, right? You do any activity that requires physiological change, like running a marathon, you're going to experience side effects. Do you go to the hospital for that? No, you don't. You know that if you run a marathon, you're going to be out of breath, you're going to have heart palpitations, you're going to be burning all over, you're going to be having whatever else side effects are with that. If you take ayahuasca, you know, you're going to be throwing up like there's no tomorrow. You're going to feel altered and god-awful, and then you're going to start having visions, and people do it, right, with these side effects. So it's the same thing. This is an advanced spiritual practice that I teach, and it comes with side effects, but they are way less than ayahuasca, and they are way more comfortable, because you do this than running a marathon. You do this in the comfort of your own bedroom or your own meditation room, and it's to be expected, because sitting on the couch twirling your thumbs and not moving would give you no side effects whatsoever, but it will also not create any change in the body or in your reality. So if we want change, there are side effects. Kundalini energy is the innate part of our physical body, a more concentrated form of our own life force. It isn't anything foreign or external, and it dies when the body perishes. I hear that there are people on the internet who say that the Kundalini energy is some sort of a reptilian implant. And so I invite you to consider the following. If Kundalini indeed was a reptilian implant or anything reptilian at all, wouldn't you think that the reptilians and the archons who run this world would actually support Kundalini awakening on their agenda instead of fighting against it tooth and nail with fear programming in mainstream teachings, media and religions, brainwashed teachers and speakers, and even the medical industry? Do you see how the reptilian implant idea doesn't hold water here at all? And here's another good thing to consider. I'm sure most of us know that all humans have scientifically proven a reptilian brain. That part really did come from the lizards and is a part of everyone's brain. Science tells us that it is the oldest and the most primitive portion of the human brain, including the brainstem, and it controls core survival functions like breathing, heart rate, basic reflexes, and fight or flight responses. And does the reptilian-driven system bash and fight against this part of us too? No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, it does everything to amplify the function of this reptilian implant in our brains. Military, Navy SEALs, and special ops training, all special forces, special agents, etc., in their training employ modalities that amplify the function of the reptilian brain with the purpose of making the troops more effective. The modalities utilized amplify and bring forth the functions of the reptilian brain and suppress the mammalian brain that we also have. I know this from listening to one of the retired special ops or super soldier trainers who spoke about it at one of the live conferences I attended. I would also suggest that the system overall constantly works to amplify the reptilian brain function and the population within the human race by keeping the population in a perpetual survival-driven fight-or-flight state. So, unlike the situation with the Kundalini energy, where the same system fights against the tooth and nail, the situation with the reptilian brain that really does belong to the lizards and really is a reptilian implant into our brain. Now, this makes perfect sense from the perspective of the reptilian-driven system.
I wanted to ask you a question about Kundalini awakening. There is a lot of information now on the internet. So you, as an experiencer, as you have gone through Kundalini awakening, I went through a different style. I didn't lose my mind. Nothing bad happened to me. Only amplification of amazing stuff. But I wanted you to comment on the Kundalini awakening. Please tell me, what do you think about, oh, it's dangerous, it's terrible, it's going to ruin your life, it's going to tear you to pieces, all kinds of nonsense on the internet that we hear about the Kundalini awakening.
Sure. I mean, look, if we Google anything, cycling a bike, drinking too much water, we're going to find horror stories. Okay. Somebody drinks too much water, they die.
They blew up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all out there. Funny enough, I had a Kundalini awakening and it was the most beautiful experience of my life. It was
Right?
like, it was like a love affair with the divine was going
Yeah.
on in my body.
Yes.
Blissful, orgasmic. It was like I would lie there feeling these currents of energy going up and down my spine. It was just beautiful. I
Yes.
had blissful states. I grew up in the 90s. I experimented with ecstasy as a teenager. It reminded me of taking ecstasy when
Yeah.
I was younger. That was what the feeling made me feel like. And then it completed its journey and went up into my brain. And then I missed it because it left, like it changed its form from a condensed energy into a kind of a field of energy.
Yeah.
And I missed that. It was very exotic, I have to say, but there was no issues. Nothing. I didn't go through a dark night of the soul. Nothing. I didn't have
Yeah.
any issues whatsoever.
Neither did I. And neither did I. For me, it amplified compassion for humanity.
Yeah.
It made me understand what the fictional figures that our religious figures in scriptures felt towards humanity.
Yeah.
You know, like how they could have this kind of level of love and compassion for the human experience. And it just gave me the whole different level of ability to feel and empathy and love. And God, the list goes on. But I get the number of comments on my channel, it's ridiculous. And there is, like, the medical industry in the United States already came up with a diagnosis where they medicate people who are going through Kundalini awakening. It's called Kundalini syndrome or something.
I've met people, yeah. Yeah, I've worked with
You
two
have?
people who were medicated and put into institutions over Kundalini awakening. And it's so sad.
And no, well, but the level of ignorance, I'm sorry to say so, but the level of ignorance of someone who would go to the doctor while they are going through Kundalini awakening, I mean, that's a whole different story. But because that is present, I labor to explain. I have classes on the Void Academy, navigating Kundalini awakening, side effects of the practice, blocks to escape. I have like 4 classes, and in every course I talk about this, that you're going to, like you said, take ecstasy. When you took ecstasy, you didn't take it to just stay the way you were. You took it to experience an altered state. Right? Same people take psychedelics. Ayahuasca is brutal, and they still take it, and it puts them through god awful side effects, and then they still take it, right? And so it's the same thing. You are working towards waking up the most powerful force that's hidden inside of you. Don't expect to just sit there twirling your thumbs that nothing's going to happen. It's going to give you side effects. It's going to give you experiences, and the blissful experience, an intense orgasmic experience, like you're having an explosion in your head. That's what happened. I had in experiences, if I had the most powerful orgasm right inside my head,
too.
and then I
Me too. Yeah.
blacked out. I turned into a beam of light, like from the chest up, like my arms
Same.
exploded into light, and then up here, and then I was gone, but I was gone and fully conscious. So it's like taking ayahuasca, but people do ayahuasca and think that okay, so that gives side effects and that's normal. But Kundalini awakening, I need to go to the doctor and get medicated.
I have to laugh because I hear people sometimes talking about they think they've had a Kundalini awakening. And I'm like, if you think that you've had a Kundalini awakening, you have not had a Kundalini awakening. Because it's exactly like you described it. It's like, for me, it was like a tennis ball, right? Been pushed through a hose pipe going up my spine.
Right up the spine, yep.
Like a ball, an orgasmic ball of energy. And it was like going up my spine, my back was arching, and then eventually it got into my brain, and I felt like my brain was like ripped
Yeah,
into the universe. Like, and my head
yeah,
opened up into the universe, and it was like all
exactly.
my vision became silver and gold, and it was like,
Yep.
flames.
Yeah.
You can't confuse it.
I know. I know. And it's intense. And if people are doing practices to stimulate that and they're following the path, then expect that something is going to occur, and going to emergency room at that point is really not the best idea, because they will medicate and game over. It's
Of
terrible. It's
course.
terrible. So thank you. Thank you for saying that. I had the golden light visual. I didn't have the silver, but it literally like a ball
I had
being
both. Yeah, both silver and then went into gold. Yeah.
and the ball going. For me, it was like a train, like a locomotive train, like of golden color up the spine. And then when it reached this level, it just exploded. I in my inner visual, it looked like my arms turned into this blasting golden light beams, and then up to here, and then, like you said, gone into the consciousness, the consciousness of divinity, just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really beautiful. But if I didn't know what I was going through, I would definitely think there was something wrong with me.
Right. But here's the difference. See, I didn't know what I was going through. I just knew that I wanted to have a mystical experience, but I had no idea. At that point, when I had the Kundalini awakening, I didn't even know what Kundalini was. I didn't know anything about this, about side effects, nothing. I was just doing the practice, and I knew that something was going to happen. But because, same as yourself, I experimented with some really fun drugs in the 90s also, and in 2000s as well. And so I took it like, wow, that's the best, wildest
Yeah.
ride of my life. This is the best drug ever. I thought to myself, I'm not stopping it. Let's keep going. And I think that the daredevils, those who are used to, laughing in the face of discomfort, they
That
would
was
take,
me.
yeah, me too. They would take Kundalini awakening like, oh my God, that was the
Let's do
best
it again,
ride of
right?
my life. Yeah, let's do it again, right? Exactly.
The
Well,
very
that
next
wasn't.
day, I was
Yeah,
trying to do the same. I was like, how do I do that again?
yeah,
And I never had it again, which was disappointing.
yeah. So, all right, I'm very happy to hear your perspective, and so yeah, I'm glad to hear that we're on the same page here.
Yeah, and just to add, if anyone wants to, like, my understanding of Kundalini is that it's bringing the body into the experience of enlightenment. So we can awaken through the perceptions, like, our view of the world changes. And then when the Kundalini rises, it's like it's pulling the body into the experience. So the body is feeling the awakening and the bliss and the enlightenment. That's for me what it was. It was almost like it was rewiring my nervous system.
Rewiring of the nervous system. That's a great point right there for sure, because you will not be the same. We have all of that built in within us, and we can reach it naturally through natural practices, through breath work, through meditation. The Kundalini awakening definitely rewires your nervous system. It unplugs you to a certain degree from that intensity of the human experience, but it does bring the body into the equation for sure, because then it allows your abilities to come back on. Like if it hit your third eye is going to come on to a certain degree, either completely or to a certain degree. It's like the filters get removed, and it just transforms your human experience, but it transforms your human experience to the better. It becomes better. Like people are so concerned, so scared that, oh, my life is going to change. But it's going, if it does, and it will, when it changes and gives you a better experience, better quality of experience in every way, in every possible way.
Yeah, and for me, it gave me a fullness. Like there was a
Yeah.
fullness in my awakening from the Kundalini. It was like, oh, I feel like I'm bursting, just like, whereas, prior to the Kundalini awakening, there was self-realization, but it felt very flat and it felt dry. And the Kundalini just gives life richness, I think. And also, I think my health improved afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
100%, my health
Yeah.
improved. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This is something also overlooked a lot because I think the whole process of awakening improves people's health, but the Kundalini awakening just burns away all kinds of crap that's stored in the body, rewires the nervous system, as you said. And so that makes a tremendous difference in the physical health because it's all emotional. Most of our illnesses, or all of our illnesses, are emotional. So once that's burnt away, health improves 100%. I could not tell you. I was like the sickest person you'd know. When I was born, I was told that I had like no immune system whatsoever. So I had like every disease every 5 minutes all the way through my teenage years, 20s, 30s. And then when I had the Kundalini awakening and started doing these practices since 2010, and I had the Kundalini awakening in 2014. It's an entirely different body now. It's an
Yeah.
entirely different body.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would agree. And it is like your nervous system has been rewired, and it's like you have a new version of your body. That's exactly. Yeah, I had lots of allergies. They
Yeah.
all disappeared. My skin improved. Yeah, I was like, wow, really like incredible change from the Kundalini.
Speaking from experience, I can guarantee that deliberate, not spontaneous, deliberate Kundalini awakening is possibly the most life-changing and empowering experience a person can have on earth. It leads to experiential knowledge of the divine and direct awareness of the true nature of our reality. This is why there is so much pushback on it from the system and its servers. But same as with all advanced spiritual practices, experiencing Kundalini awakening is not for those who are mentally or emotionally unstable. It requires awareness, respect, and integration. And this is why I speak about it in detail in my courses on the Void Academy and have a number of classes to prepare the students and give them full awareness of all of the side effects and what it is like to experience the Kundalini awakening as a side effect of the practice that I teach for the purpose of exiting the cycle of reincarnation.